Welcome to this episode of Sunny's Silver Linings. Sunny's guest today is Simarpreet Singh. Simarpreet is the co-founder of SockSoho, India's fastest-growing premium sock brand for men. He's a computer science engineer with a passion for growth marketing. He's built campaigns for brands like Mercedes, Microsoft, Uber, and many more. Simarpreet walks us through his incredible journey and gives some great advice on using your passion and critical thinking skills to grow a profitable business. And now, your host, the founder and CEO of IT by Design, Mr. Sunny Kaila. Over to you, Sunny.
So Simarpreet, thank you so much for joining me today. I truly appreciate your time. And I know we were having this conversation a couple of weeks ago, just catching up. And we talked about you coming to my podcast as my guest. And thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks a ton for inviting me. It's so great to see you doing such an amazing initiative, especially during these times where professionals are struggling what to do with their careers and they need career guidance. I think it's a brilliant initiative. So congratulations to you, Sunny, for starting this.
Thank you, Simarpreet. And I'm super excited today, and especially with we have a lot in common. And when I look at my roots, right, where I started my life journey, and that traveling that life journey so far, and we have a lot in common. And I'm super excited about your, learning about your journey and sharing your life journey with our viewers, because there is just so much to learn from your journey, and I'm super excited about that.
Thank you. I mean, thanks for having me here. I think it's very true. I mean, we come from the same Punjabi roots. Yeah. Both of us, have those sames, coming from middle class families. So it's great here to be here.
Yeah. So let's start with, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? What it was like growing up for Simarpreet Singh, and where you started, and then so just to walk us through your life journey so far.
Sure. So I was born here in Chandigarh, and my parents, it's a typical middle class family. So my mom placed a lot of emphasis on education. She wanted me to, top in class, like a typical brown parent would do. Yeah. And my father, he worked for the government. And so the thing as I was a kid, it was pretty simple. You had to top the class. Even I was in nursery. So I like doing that. But apart from studies, I was something, if you would call, a nerd. I spent my time in libraries. If my PT teacher called me to come and play football, I would hide in a corner because I was really bad at sports. But studying, quizzing, debates, all these things excited me. And I think at one point of time, I wanted to become a quiz master, and I did that as well. But the childhood was all about learning and soaking in knowledge. But in between, I got very interested in being an entrepreneur. So I think I was in grade 5. My mom started a kindergarten school. And, I read somewhere that in the US, there were people doing, summer camps. And I pitched, hey, Mama, can we do this? And she was like, okay, let's try this. So we did a summer camp. It was the first one in the region. And mom and we made a very decent 50,000 rupees profit. And so we split it equally. Like she treated me as a partner. We split it up equally. And that was my first taste of making something of my own and earning from it. So that was a great life experience. And I think it went into my head that if I created something useful that people were willing to pay for, I could live life on my own terms. So
this was 5th grade.
Yeah, I was in 5th grade. Yeah.
Wow. So your entrepreneurship started very early on, and
very true.
Partnership with your mom. Wow.
Oh yeah. So that started pretty early, and and obviously in a middle class family, generally the parents they work to make the both ends meet. So I started supporting them. So when I was in grade 6, I used to give tuitions to kids in grade 5. When I was in grade 10, I used to take tuitions for kids in grade 9th. So that continued on for long. And in between, I picked up a lot of skills. So when I told you, like in grade 5th, I understood how to design a poster, how to do PR, how to do publicity. I went to homes, distributed posters on my bicycle, and talked to people and convinced them to join this. So sales, also came very early. And as I was doing things, I realized that I needed no permission to do on things. And I was also very interested in technology, because technology is the only thing that separates humans from apes. Like, what are we without technology? So I was interested in computers, and I joined computer science engineering. So I was doing CS engineering. I loved coding. And in between, since I had a penchant for marketing and sales, I figured out that I could do growth marketing. So I growth hacked for a lot of brands. I've been lucky to work with some great brands like Uber, Mercedes. I worked with some politicians as well. I've worked with high commissions as well in the branding, PR, marketing campaigns. And I started freelancing while in college. Uh, as I finished my college, I started my own company. It was called Mind Batteries, where we created campaigns, digital campaigns for a lot of brands. I ran that for 4 or 5 years, but I always had an itch in myself to create a product. So right now, I'm doing something that no one would expect a CS engineer to do. I'm running a sock company. So it's called SockSoho.com. We are India's largest direct-to-consumer sock brand for men. So right now we are disrupting fashion, and we are the first direct-to-consumer fashion brand from India to be backed by Y Combinator. And we're just kicking ass in socks. So that's what I am doing right now. So my journey is still on the way. There's a lot much to do, lot to achieve, and lot to learn.
Yeah, no, so that's very interesting that you started your entrepreneurial journey early on, and then chose computer science in college, and then now more focused, with your passion and growth marketing, is taking you to a kind of totally new destinations and the journey. So talk to me a little bit about computer science to growth marketing piece. So
Sure.
what made you pivot in your career journey?
So I would say even in growth marketing, you need to understand technology.
Right.
So right now, you and I are talking over Zoom. This will go over YouTube, LinkedIn. There might be tons of hacks that we might need to do to make sure that this reaches out to more and more people, right?
Yeah.
So once I understood computers, once I understood what technology could do,
Yeah.
I also was interested in sales. So if you know how to build, you need to learn how to sell. And in this age, I mean, with computers, you can sell anything, anywhere. You look at examples of companies like Uber. I mean, if you look at, essentially, it's a taxi company which owns no taxis, but everything runs on code, right? So I am interested in the code. I'm not interested in the coding part of it. I'm interested in what can technology company do to scale? How can it scale from, let's say, one territory, one country to another country? So I adopted computer science because I realized very early on that this is the future. And right now we are living in the future. And this is just the beginning. This is just the tip of the iceberg. COVID accelerated the whole thing. People are moving towards digital, and I realized it early on. And when it comes to growth hacking or growth marketing, it's applying the same kind of principles, that you need to figure out how to reach out to millions and millions of people. And digital is the number one way that you adopt a strategy that you can scale fast. And then, the traditional things, they exist, and they have been existing already. And I was like literally fascinated by that.
Wow.
But one thing is, I realized that once you understand that technology is something where you can, even when you make your first dollar over internet, it's crazy. Like, you can be a coder, you can create something, this is just basically your brain working, right? You create something, a few lines of code, and you can get paid for it. I would say it's like the best job out there, right? So I am like super bullish and super excited about being a part of the technology world.
Yeah. So I think I shared this with you last time when we were having conversations. So our keynote speaker for our annual conference, which is happening in August, is Gary Vee.
Yeah.
And he always talk about making his first dollar on internet when his father owned a liquor store here in Edison, New Jersey, and the way kind of he started selling wine or something like online, and that was like 96 early on. Not too many people were leveraging internet for to kind of sell their products. And yes, it was always exciting, and I can kind of really see where you're coming from with making that first dollar online, from e-commerce. That is the future. And talking about technology, everything is technology. When I look at, a finance district right next to me, Wall Street, and all those financial firms that used to call themselves financial institutions, now they are calling themselves technology institutions. So nothing can scale and work nowadays without technology. So you're right. Having that foundation, having that technical aptitude that, okay, this is how stuff works in technology, you can build any business when you have the technology piece, like you understand technology and how you can leverage technology to build any business. That is the key. And it's great to see, though, the technology to growth marketing piece. And so, Simar, can you talk to us a little bit about kind of what do you see so far? So what do you have experienced in terms of what is giving you this, the journey that you're having, success that you're having, progress that you're making in life? What are the attributes, when you reflect on your journey, what are the attributes that you see that you think other professionals should know about? What makes a professional a successful professional?
Sure. So one thing I would say that I've been very lucky to meet a lot of successful people, like even Sunny, right? We have met in person. So I feel lucky to meet a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I think one trait that all successful people share is that they're super curious about the world. They ask questions.
Yeah.
The world might not encourage it, but the reason they are ahead of others is because they ask good questions. They're curious about the world. So the number one trait I would say that anyone should have if they have to become a great professional is to develop this innate sense of curiosity. Why is this working? Why is this not working? How can I make this better? So that's number one. Number two thing that everyone should have is they should have, I call it GSD attitude, get shit done, right? So if you take charge of something, let's say you say, hey, I'll build up a prototype of this app in next 2 days, you bloody should do it in 2 days. It should not take 2 weeks, because once you start taking responsibilities, you get more and bigger responsibilities. And if you don't have that GSD thing, if you don't get shit done, you won't move very ahead in your career or in your life. And that's super important. And third is, a lot of people, professionals, think that, hey, I'm born with this innate sense of curiosity, or I also get shit done. So, they stop learning. In this age, agility is so important. You have seen companies which we thought were invincible, but they are gone. Like, they're literally gone, right? So if you're not agile, especially if you're in technology, right? Technology changes every day. You have to be in the top of your own domain. You have to see what's new, what's happening, and you have to learn that. So number three thing is you have to be agile. You have to be willing to be flexible, to learn new things, and open to learning. So these are the three things I believe are super important.
Yeah. And no, thank you for sharing that. That's so powerful. So we have the GSD signs everywhere in our bullpen here in the office. And so get shit done is a mantra here at IT by Design as well. And being curious and making bigger choices and agile, right? So recently we have gone through a training called Collaborative Way. So such a powerful training. And it was all about generous listening and honoring your commitments, accountability. And when you say GSD, it's related to honoring our commitments and having a very high work ethics when you talk about, taking ownership and accountability and really being able to contribute as a team member, effective contribution, which will come from honoring your commitments, right? And getting things done is the key. And that's the success of the team. So now let's talk, let's move on to our next question. What is that one tip that you have for growing professionals, upcoming professionals?
I'll give you an example. So when I was in college, most of my friends were looking for paid internships, and I was looking for the smartest people I could work with. And I told them, so I actually worked with an Olympian And I told him, hey, because I adore this guy, and there is only one Olympian in India who has made it big. And I said, hey, I want to work with you somehow. Can I manage your X campaign? And I would not charge for it, right? Uh, he said, sure. I got to work with top CEOs in the same way. I said, hey, I want to learn from you. Can I do anything for you? I mean, or let's say I can handle digital strategy, or I can handle this for you. Can I come and work with you? Can I sit here? No one minded a young 18-year-old guy, working with them for free. And they were this, once I became of value, because I was, when you're young, I mean, you are stupid, right? You don't know much about the world. You have all the confidence, you have the balls, but you don't have the mind. So you need to have the brains as well. So, and when you're young, you have the guts, and you should optimize for learning at a young age, not for earning. Once you learn and you become valuable, the world is gonna pay you. I think one of the sickest things that young people have right now is that, hey, if you're worth something, don't do it for free. I think that's the stupidest thing. That's the stupidest idea that people have in their heads. When you're young, you don't have much. So learn. And once you become so valuable, your market value would rise to so much that you will earn. So that's my mantra. I mean, optimizing learning over earning when you are young.
Wow, that's very, very powerful. Learn to earn. And so there is when I started my first kind of computer job in New York City, Simarpreet, I had a very similar experience. I went to this interview in my 4th year of computer engineering. I was just trying to get out of taxi work every single day. Doing taxi work was kind of, I'm like, I'm about to graduate. I want to make that switch now. Taxi to tech side. And funny story that the person who was interviewing me, they're like, Sunny, you are graduating from this really top 6 engineering colleges in the US, and our budget is salary at that time, and I'm talking about 2000. In New York City for a system admin, it was about $60,000, and their budget was $30,000, and they offered me. They're like, so, we want to hire you, but we don't have the budget. Our business is still the internal IT job that we have. The budget that we have is $30,000. I'm like, I don't care about money. I just want to start. I want to learn. You figure out how much you want to pay, how much budget you have. I just want to start. And wow. I can see that, that common lesson that we have learned from our journey. But when you're sharing, I can relate to my experience as well. And I wanted to be useful there as well. And I wanted to be just helpful, and just in the interest of working with some smart people. And learning was more important to me than money. And as they say, you have to sometimes go slow to go fast. And when I see you or hear you talking about you offering your services, you're like, I just want to be there with you and learn. Learning was the main motivator behind your kind of, what you wanted to do, and to be valuable to someone so you can create value for someone, so that they can add value to you in terms of your learnings, right? You're learning from their experience, you're learning from their success. And that is so, nowadays, when I talk to professionals, or even when we have people coming out of campuses, and as you know, we have our operation in Chandigarh, and we hire from Chitakara to a lot of other institutions there. And it is very interesting to see sometimes people, they are just so much more giving more weightage to just money and their package, that I can only start working if I make this much salary. But sometimes you have to really focus on that value that you have by associating yourself with really good people, where you can learn from them, and you can learn. That is a lot more. That's going to pay you a lot higher dividend than just kind of starting at a high package to start with.
Totally.
Right? Yeah.
Totally.
So that's really, so being valuable and learning before you start earning is very powerful. And okay, so what is the greatest lesson you have learned so far? So now we can take not only the professional side, the entrepreneurial side that you have as well, and the entrepreneurial learning. So what is the greatest lesson that you have learned so far?
So I'll first talk about the professional lesson being an entrepreneur that has taught me. So this is written on my T-shirt that says "Make something that people want."
Yeah.
So let's say if you want to become an entrepreneur, or even if you want to become a great professional, you have to make something that people want.
Yeah.
All businesses exist in the world because they are making something that other people want. A lot of companies that they die because what they are making is not something that people want. It's as simple as that. So let's say if you're running IT by design, your softwares or your services are something that your clients really need at the end of the day. Yeah. And they have to be so good that the clients keep coming again or recommending to others to do that. So that's one of the core principles that I learned while building a business. A lot of my friends, when they started business, they thought, hey, maybe my thing to do business is I graduate from Wharton or I go to get an MBA from IIM in India. Then I make up a deck and go to a VC to get $1 million in funding. And that's how a real business is made. Yeah. And I think this mantra, particularly by Paul Graham, the founder of Y Combinator, has changed my life. It says we literally have to make something that people want, and then you bloody make it and sell it. I mean, it's as simple as that, right? So that's the biggest professional mantra I think I have especially for entrepreneurs. Regarding a generic, life lesson that I have, I personally believe that all of us generally have got short lives, right? You can live up to 40, 100, max 150. I mean, if you're a yogi living in Himalayas, but not beyond that. Yeah. So if you think of that way, life is too short. Yeah. So whether you want to choose greatness or whether you want to choose being average or mediocre, I mean, you have to do it right now. There is not enough time. So whether you want to go to Disneyland, whether you want to become great in your career, whether you want to, spend time with your kids, time, fleets away. So if you want to do something, you put your 100% into it, or you just don't do it. Yeah. And then, you live full throttle because this is the only thing, this is the only chance you have. It's short. So I think that's my personal lesson that I've got.
Yeah. So 168 hours in a week, going to stay 168. How you choose to use that time is the question, right?
True.
Yeah. And so making right choices in terms of your time utilization and what you are focusing on and what is important to be more valuable, right? The only way to create more value is to learn and be more valuable and kind of making that bigger impact. So Simarpreet, thank you so much for coming to my podcast. I truly appreciate your time and you sharing a lot of very valuable insights with our viewers. And thank you so much and sharing. Thank you so much for coming and sharing your journey with us. Thank you.
Thanks a ton. I mean, it was great being here with you. You are such a wonderful host. I mean, it was such a comfortable feeling chatting with you. And thank you for having me here. I'm so glad. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.